What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. It's a major day going on here in the Senate as they're voting on the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. It's been a barn burner as they've been voting here all night. I'll give you an update here on what's going on here. In fact, I'll give it to you directly from the horse's mouth, as my father would say, directly from Senator Bernie Sanders, who's an independent. Remember, he has an I by his name. He's not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. In fact, he has been very kind of critical of this bill. If you've been watching my channel, he's had a lot of criticism of this bill. And here's what he has to say. Let me know your thoughts here on this. He says it's could have been a lot better. Could have been a lot better. Take a listen.
Joining me now, fresh from the ongoing marathon vote on the Senate floor, is the Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont. Senator Sanders, thank you for making time to come away. I understand you are headed toward another vote at some point. Where do we stand on this bill? And tell me a little bit about your objection to it. You are going to vote in favor of the passage of this act, but you did speak against something about it and propose an amendment.
Well, Ali, look, this country faces enormous crises in terms of health care, the high cost of prescription drugs, child care, higher education, climate, income and wealth inequality. This is what we call a reconciliation bill. And what that means is that we only need 50 votes. You don't have to get 60 votes. You don't need any Republican votes to do something significant for working families in this country. And unfortunately, for fairly well-known reasons, we have two conservative Democrats. We couldn't get the 50 votes that we need, really, to impact the needs of working families. So I have offered a series of amendments to strengthen the bill, which have not succeeded. Bottom line is that you have a bill which does some good things. We put some $300 billion into clean energy. And at a time when we face an existential threat in terms of climate change, this is a step forward. But on the other hand, as part of the deal, we're allowing oil and gas companies the opportunity to drill on millions of acres of public water and land. We're giving more tax breaks and corporate welfare to the oil industry. There is a reason why BP and Shell, two of the largest oil companies in this country, are supporting the bill. In terms of prescription drugs, this legislation takes a very baby step forward. We pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. In some cases, you well know, we've talked about it, 10 times more than Canadians. What this bill does is say that Medicare should negotiate prescription drug prices, but only after 4 years, and they start off with only 10 drugs and go from there. So it's a very modest step forward. Bottom line is I'm going to support the bill because given the crisis of climate change, the environmental community says this is a step forward. It doesn't go anywhere near as far as it should. It is a step forward.
And obviously, of all the matters in there, these two issues, whether it be climate or health care, are near and dear to both of our hearts. I want to talk specifically about some of the things you wanted to do. You had an amendment, 5210, requiring that Medicare not pay more than the VA. Right. Tell me what that was meant to do.
This is a very simple amendment. Right now, I don't know if anybody knows this, for 30 years, the Veterans Administration has been negotiating prescription drug prices with the VA, similar to what Canada does, what countries all over the world do. The result is that the VA pays half as much for prescription drugs as Medicare. Now, how insane is it that in one federal government, you got the VA paying 50% of what Medicare is paying for prescription drugs? So all that my amendment said is, you know what? Medicare should not pay any more than the VA. Do what they've been doing for 30 years. Now, when you take on the pharmaceutical industry, you are taking on the most powerful lobby here in Washington, D.C. They have an unlimited amount of money to make sure we pay outrageously high prices. They got 1,700 paid lobbyists. So bottom line is this legislation is a baby step forward. It doesn't go as far as it should.
You had another amendment which caught my interest, and that was the establishment of a civilian climate corps. What does that mean?
Well, what that's about is the bill puts $300 billion into clean energy, and that's a good thing. That's probably the best thing in the bill. But you know, the leaders, as you well know, in America and all over the world, the people who've been leading the effort to take on the fossil fuel industry and transform our energy system, they are the young people. They're out on the streets, they're demonstrating, they're demanding disinvestment from fossil fuel companies. They've been the leader. And what these young people want to do is they want to be able to roll up their sleeves and go to work in doing energy efficiency, doing sustainable energy. And what this legislation is about, and we had it in the original Build Back Better bill, it provides $30 billion in providing good jobs for some 400,000 young people, educational benefits. And it says, we need your help. Help us to transform our energy system. And it would have, I believe, created a lot of excitement among young people.
Senator, before I let you go, there's definitely new energy in the air, possibly around the Supreme Court case having to do with Dobbs and Roe v. Wade, that are getting people to turn out for these primaries and getting them more interested. You said that there are things, whether it's to do with healthcare or climate, that are baby steps in this bill. Do you get some impression that perhaps in these midterms or in the coming 2 years, there will be an energy behind more than baby steps when it comes to climate and healthcare in America?
You know, I worry very much that the Democrats have not done as much as they should in terms of responding to the needs of working families. It is no great secret that we're losing white working class voters, Latino working class voters, black working class voters. On the other hand, what this extremely right-wing Supreme Court has done, probably inadvertently, when they say that no woman in the United States of America has the right to control her own body, man, that sends off a signal all over this country, in Kansas, in Vermont, all over this country. So I think what you're going to see is a real response to that disgraceful decision, and people are going to be saying, you know what? It is not government that should tell a woman how she controls her body. It is a woman herself. And I think you are going to see increased voter turnout, and I think the Republicans may regret very much what their Supreme Court has done.
Well, you can let me know your thoughts here. One thing I definitely think that Bernie is probably going to be right on is that this is probably going to be one of the most voted on elections here for, you know, non-presidential elections here that we have had in a long time. There's so much going on here right now with the Supreme Court, with women's choice, with pro-life, with inflation, with Democrats versus Republicans. There's just so much going on here right now, and a lot of hotly contested governor races and Senate races here as well. And a lot of people saying that maybe they want to make a change or they want to prevent one party or the other. So yeah, you can let me know your thoughts here. There is a lot going on. So yeah, and if you look right here, shortly before this video goes live, you can see here they are still on the Senate floor right now. They are still on the Senate floor right now. They're dealing with Republican Senator Sullivan's amendment dealing with U.S. border security from Alaska, dealing with U.S. border security. So you can see here, there's a host of different things that they are working on here in this bill. A lot of different things here. Yeah. So you can also see here, come on, Bernie Sanders. Democrats clash on Senate floor over Senator Bernie Sanders' proposals. Wow. I don't know if you heard that little meow here by my foot, but I I had a little meeper here. Yeah, little baby Snowy here who's yeah, what were you meowing for? Huh? Baby? Baby Snowy? Yeah, I think someone wants some Toonie. You want some Toonie? Is he not just the cutest little thing? Yeah, he's like a little Alaskan snow bear. Yeah. I wonder if they can hear him purring too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, say bye-bye, Snowy. Say bye-bye. No. Yeah, so another thing that happened here today, Democrats failed to overrule Senate parliamentarian on insulin price cap as GOP, aka Republican, Grand Old Party, votes no. Votes no. Here's the details on this. Senate Democrats fell short of an effort Sunday to overrule a decision by the parliamentarian that effectively struck down a proposal sponsored by Senator Raphael Warnock to cap out of pocket insulin costs at $35 a month for people not covered by Medicare. For people not covered by Medicare. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, the ranking member of the Budget Committee, sought to enforce the parliamentarians' ruling that Warnock's cap on insulin prices violated the Byrd Rule because it would set prices in the commercial market and therefore wouldn't pass with a simple majority vote. This is so sad, isn't it? So we want to continue seeing people pay hundreds of dollars a month for insulin. Senate Democrats insisted on a vote to waive the procedural objection to put Republican senators on record, including Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, the most vulnerable member of the Republican conference, on record as opposing a popular proposal to rein in insulin prices. The Senate voted 57 to 43 to waive the procedural objection against the insulin price cap, but Democrats scored a symbolic victory when seven Republicans with the Democrats voted with them. So I believe they would have needed 60 votes, so they fell just short to overrule the Senate parliamentarian on this vote, which is really, really sad day for Americans. Now, this will go into effect for people on Medicare, but not for people on private insurance. So Senator Bill Cassidy, a Republican from Louisiana, Susan Collins, Josh Hawley, Cindy Hyde, Josh Kennedy, Lisa Murkowski, and Dan Sullivan all voted yes, which is a very sensible thing. It's a common sense thing. This should not be a Republican versus Democrat thing to lower the price of insulin for people on private health care.
And they obviously don't care.
My wife says they obviously don't care. We're going to force them to vote no and put them on the record, said one Democratic senator before the vote, explaining the political strategy ahead of a vote lawmakers knew ahead of time was going to fail. It almost didn't. It almost didn't. They needed 60 votes. They had 57. It would have been a huge victory for American people to see people. There's millions of people on insulin. All 43 no votes came from Republicans. Tell me this isn't a sad day for America. The vote was unusual as the majority party rarely insists on a vote to overrule the parliamentarians' decision on whether a legislative proposal is protected by the budgetary rules. Senate Health Committee Chairwoman Patty Murray from Washington, I think Washington State, said colleagues who voted to override the parliamentarian would have allowed people to get insulin at $35 a month. There's multiple different kinds of insulin, but this would be savings of hundreds of dollars. And remember, insulin costs a few dollars to make in most cases. It says, quote, 37 million people in our country have diabetes, and it's absolutely wrong that many of them cannot afford the insulin they need to live. I've heard from people in my state who risk their life and ration insulin to make ends meet, all the while drug companies are jacking up the prices. The cost of insulin has tripled over the last decade. It's really sad. There was a partial victory, however, because the parliamentarian allowed the $35 insulin cap to apply to Medicare beneficiaries, which could influence prices in the private market as well. But they called the cap on insulin for people covered by Medicare a big deal, which it will be. They noted that 1 in 3 Medicare beneficiaries have diabetes, and more than 3.3 Medicare beneficiaries use common forms of insulin, according to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So, just to be clear here, they basically voted here to say, do we want to vote to overrule the parliamentarian? Which they can do. They can vote on it. They have done this in the past, both Republicans and Democrats. Remember that the 2017 Trump tax bill was passed by the reconciliation package with only Republican votes. Okay. So both parties used the reconciliation package, and the parliamentarian has been overruled in the past. The main rule for the budget reconciliation process is that it needs to affect the federal budget. But they can overrule her and include amendments like this and just simply vote on it, especially if you're just thinking as a common sense person of what's good for Americans, like lowering the price of a life saving drug for millions of Americans. I mean, again, don't think of it as a Republican, Democrat, red, white, and blue, black, brown, anything like those type of things. It's a life-saving, cost-saving, lowering inflation. I mean, literally, if you think about the average cost of insulin is hundreds of dollars, and if you lowered that to $35 for tens of millions of people, that would reduce inflation. Again, it should not be a Democrat Republican thing. In fact, if Republicans and Democrats both voted for it, they'd both be able to take credit for it. I mean, that's a great thing going into the election. They'd both be able to claim credit for it, right? So we both reduced inflation, whatever. Whoever voted for it can say, hey, look what I voted for. But regardless of who claims credit, that's not the important part. The important part is that we actually did something to help out tens of millions of people. Honestly, there's people that die every year because they can't afford medication. They can't afford medication, or they can't afford insulin, which is a life-saving. If you literally, if people can't afford it, they die in some cases. So um, you can let me know your thoughts here, but this is this really sad part of politics here that happens. Now, the problem is you could be like, oh, well, they can, it shouldn't be part of the budget reconciliation process. They can go try to do it in a standalone bill. Well, guess what? They've been trying to do this for years, and what have we had? Nothing. We have a lot of politicians protecting the prescription drug companies. We have a lot of politicians protecting the gas and oil companies, saying that they shouldn't be taxed. That they're gonna pass. Here's the problem: we have politicians saying if we tax anybody, if we lower the cost on anybody, they're gonna uh, pass the cost on to Americans. Like this is how far the reach of corporate lobbyists and how far billionaire corporations have gotten into the pockets of corporations and the media and stuff. If we tax billion-dollar corporations at all, a single penny, more than the 0% that they're paying right now, some corporations that make over $1 billion pay 0%. The famous headline that Amazon made $11.2 billion in 1 year, paid $0 in federal taxes. If they pay any taxes at all, heaven forbid, they would pass the cost onto Americans if they pay any taxes. But how can we pay for our country if they don't pay any taxes? How can we pay for roads, bridges, police, fire, everything, right? How can you pay for anything? How can you lower the federal deficit? How can you lower the debt? How can you pay for schools? How can you pay for anything if they're not paying taxes? I mean, this is the hypocrisy of kind of politics right now. This is why, now, according to recent polls, the vast majority of people don't trust politicians and large corporations because they want to make billions of dollars and then not pay any taxes. And then you know what they do with the money? They do stock buybacks for billions of dollars. Yeah, they're not, investing it in communities. They're not investing it in their workers. They're investing it in stock buybacks. They just don't want to pay taxes. And don't get me wrong, nobody wants to pay taxes. It's not like I want to pay more taxes and you want to pay more taxes. Nobody wants to pay more taxes. They're just doing what they can. But this is the rhetoric that they tell you guys. This is the rhetoric the politicians tell you guys. If you believe it, then you're feeding into the propaganda that they want you to believe. You gotta not. That's why you listen to this channel, because I try to give you guys the truth. I try to give you both sides of a lot of different things, but listening to politicians and large corporations saying that they shouldn't pay any tax at all because the fear mongering that you may pay more money in the long run. Uh, if no corporations ever pay tax, our country is in for a world of hurt down the long run. I mean, how is our country ever going to survive if corporations never pay tax? I mean, you let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country. I'll let you guys know the truth. That's why you guys watch this channel here. And again, I'll let you guys know the right, the wrong, and everything going on here. And as this bill, they're still working on it. When it gets passed here, I'll let you guys know what happens with these amendments and who voted on what Democrats and Republicans, and what happened to a lot of these amendments here. There's hundreds of them, so we're gonna have to try to see what we can get information on, and honestly, there's a lot more coming forward here as well. A lot of states passing state stimulus checks. We're actually seeing a lot done there as well. And there's a lot more coming here as well with SNAP and food raise benefits. And as we get closer to the election, student loan forgiveness, all sorts of different things here going forward. So I will keep you in the loop here on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon if you haven't yet so you get notifications, and hit the like button for us as well if you haven't yet. And I will keep you up to date. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And you can click here to see over 20 different states that are sending out cash and checks to their residents with checks and more right now. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.